Our next speaker, Josephine Grey and Roxy Cohen. Been eco-human rights organizers for over 30 years. In 1986, she co-founded Low-Income Families Together in Lift, run by and for low-income people to incubate community-based projects. She's co-founder of Foodshare Toronto and the founder-director of the St. James Town Community Co-operative, the OASIS Foodhub pilot project in 1995. Josephine was appointed Canada's official observer for domestic issues at the UN World Summit on Social Development. She's reported to the UN to expose Canada's failure to respect economic, social, and cultural rights. Her work has taken her to communities, summits, and social forums on 7 continents. Josephine is a single parent of 4 and a grandmother of 5, dedicated to working with youth and community to advance human rights and climate resilience, primarily through the OASIS Foodhub project and advocacy for a basic income guarantee.
Roxy Cohen, my delightful partner in all this work, is a PhD in education. She's creating the world's first curriculum for a university course for climate action leaders. She's also a co-founder of the OASIS Project, and she's a co-founder of Conscious Minds Co-op, which is a youth-led co-op that has been doing a lot to help us with the OASIS Project. So that's a really important point, is that it is an intergenerational project, and it has been from the beginning. So what I would like to see for just a second, because you've all been sitting for a while, how about you get up and just shake around a little bit, shake your head. Woo, take a breath. Got it. All right, stretch. Okay. All right. So this is what gets me up in the morning. Even though the world is a scary place, and I've been watching it get worse since I started being an activist for farmland when I was in my teens. Our model is about creating a healthy, resilient food hub that's resistant to climate change. It has a number of components that are trying to mimic efficient interconnecting loops as would be found in nature itself. We're trying to make sure it's a full-cycle food hub, and once it is implemented, it will be the world's first of this kind. So it arose from a really serious need in the community of St. Jamestown. St. Jamestown is probably the most diverse community in the world. It has about 20,000 people crammed into less than a quarter square mile. There's a bunch of private landlords, and there's a stretch of Toronto community housing, been public housing for a long time up Bleecker, 4 buildings. And it's a very underserved community. We have a food basics, which gives people access to rather crappy food. And if you go down Parliament, you can find some really lovely, healthy, organic food, but of course it's beyond the reach of the budgets of most of our inhabitants, most of our residents. So we say we live in a food zoo, because you can see it, but you can't have it. It's also a community that has an enormous amount of highly educated people from around the world. Many of them are climate refugees. So we are, and have been, very painfully aware of the impact of climate change for quite some time. And we decided to form the St. James Community Co-op so that residents could run and manage a cooperative that would ensure that whatever we were building and developing would stay in St. Jamestown and be run by and for St. Jamestown, because we are, for one, a community like no other, and for 2, a community with loads and loads of capacity, just no resources or support. So in order to make our community cooperative and our work happen, we decided to utilize something called the Time Bank. I'll let Roxy talk a little more about that, but it's a component of this broader model. The Time Bank allows us to engage people in their skills and know who's on board and what they're able to do and such. So what we want to do is be able to gather food from local farmers, bulk food buying, we're already doing that. Then we will be building greenhouses, aquaponics systems, et cetera, mushroom farms, because we have lots of underground space. We haven't got like one tiny plot of proper growing soil above ground in this concrete jungle, but we have enormous amounts of sub-basements, parking garages, etc. And it was actually one of our friends from the Philippines who suddenly realized, ding, why don't we just grow climate-controlled underground so that we can produce year-round? Because as we all know, Canada has one growing season. Sometimes you can squeeze in two, but it's totally unpredictable now. And we've been losing crops because of weather problems for years. People don't even realize that because it always shows up in the grocery store, but we lost an entire corn crop a few years ago and an apple crop the year before that. We are the most food insecure country I'm aware of. We have 3-day supply in an emergency, and that's for the lucky people. So let's say there's a big blackout in St. Jamestown and there's no food. We want to make sure that we have food that we have generated, that it's healthy food, that it's clean food, unlike when the 650 fire happened and a whole building had to empty out and everybody was displaced. They were given Tim Hortons cards. They could go and buy like donuts and sandwiches and stuff. But meanwhile, there are people with diabetes, people with special diet needs, people who are used to eating cultural foods that they need for their bodies. None of that was possible. So we did food surveys in our community to find out what it is that the majority of our members want. We do have a majority of people from the Global South. We also have a lot of people who are Indigenous. And amongst us all, we decided that these are the really important qualities that we want in our local food sovereign system. So we want high quality food, not stuff that's been irradiated and tastes like styrofoam. We want it to be managed by residents. If there's a problem, we're there, we know how to run it, it's ours, we designed it, we built it, we maintain it. And we're not waiting around for somebody to like drive in from Markham and flip the switch if there's a problem, because that's not going to work. We already know this from seeing what happens when things break down in our neighborhood or during a huge blackout. We realize that when we start growing food and fish inside our community, we are now sparing the rivers and the oceans. We don't have to fish so much if we're growing our own fish. So now we're going to let the water regenerate. We're growing a lot of stuff in these greenhouses and we can like let the soil recover. But even greater, with the food systems approach, we have got some 20,000 or more people who can provide us with compost, with organic waste, which is currently going to landfill. Now, if we process that waste within our buildings, within our community, underground, we can then actually send that waste out, once as compost. We can vermicompost it, we can biodigest it, we can use it as compost for farms, for gardens, for balconies, whatever, but we can also create energy and biofuels to run the food hub. Because we know if there's a blackout, we don't want the system shutting down, so we have to power our own hub ourselves. And we can do so with the very organic waste that's being produced. Technology has caught up to our desires. We want to make sure that there's fair employment. It's a cooperative, so it's going to be there to support everybody, and everybody is in a co-op working together to meet our needs, and there's no one to buy it out or whatever. And we want to make sure that we're resilient to emergencies and that we have food reserves. So I'll let Roxy tell you a little bit about.
Sure. So you can see on the map here, this is the OASIS ecosystem. When you look at the center, so the center plate where all the people are sitting around, you'll notice it looks like something else. It looks like a regular food cycle that we see in nature normally. And that is the point. The point is that it mimics what nature already does excellently. So following principles of biomimicry, we are not just learning about nature and what problems we're causing are, but we're actually learning from nature and mimicking the systems that have been working. So as Josephine said, just to follow you through a little bit, so let's say we're underground, we're in our aquaponics system, we have our little fish swimming there on the right-hand side. Our fish need to eat, right? They need fish food as well. So we give them some crickets. Crickets are great, they take up very little space, and they actually eat food scraps as well. So we've given them some food from our compost, the fish eat it, fish go along, and the fish poop. And the poop goes in the water, and the poop is filled with nutrients that are actually phenomenal for the plants. But if they stay in the water, it makes the water all dirty, just like us. We don't want to live surrounded by our own waste. So the fish and the plants work in an integrated loop, where the fish provide nutrients for the plants, and the plants clean the water for the fish. And this is a system that can be up to 90% water efficient. It doesn't need soil. And in a small space, we can grow up to 200 pounds of fish and up to 400 pounds of leafy greens in a week. And we don't stop there, right? We take our scraps, we take food, we process it, we run it through a kitchen. We have our co-op members who are phenomenal chefs with recipes from around the world. We make delicious food that we sell at our cafe and also by donation for those who may not be able to afford it. And all the meanwhile, we're working with our farms and our distributor partners who are helping us to bring in healthy food year-round that's local and good for the planet. So you may be thinking, well, what about affordability? Well, we have decided to base our food hub system not just on the economic model that we currently use, but also on an alternative model called time banking. Now in time banking, time is the currency instead of money. We all have time on our hands. I don't have much left right now in this speech, but we all have time in our lives. And so what we do is we say, well, we can exchange time. And we can exchange services. So maybe Nina loves to cook, and Rafi doesn't like to cook so much. So Rafi pays Nina a time credit to come in and cook some food for him. And Nina takes that time credit, and she goes to Josie, and she gets some tutoring for her grade 2 child. And maybe Josie uses that money to get her bikes fixed that broke at the end of last season. And so it goes in a circle where we can create a circular social economy as well. And what's really great is that we've been working with farms and making the link where we can bring out residents, many of whom were farmers where they lived before they came to Canada, or agronomists, or PhDs in soil, or PhD engineers, and we can bring them out to the farms. We can provide some extra support, some labor, some time, and then when harvest comes around, farmers can come back and sell their produce for part-time, part money, because their upfront costs have been cut. And we have actually successfully done this with farms. You can see here too that we fit within sustainable development goals, which also fit with Project Drawdown. I'll let you do your own research into that. You can see here, so you may be asking, this all sounds nice, but it sounds really ambitious. How far are you and how is this going to happen? Well, as much as we'd like to see it all happen at once, Canada doesn't seem to work that way very much. So we've phased it. And we're going to do a phased approach. We'll start with an office space and, a community kitchen, and slowly start growing underground, slowly bring in the mushrooms and the compost and all of these pieces. And right now, this food hub is just a concept. We've been working on it for 8 years. Our biggest barrier is that nobody seems to have a form for this project. We go to the city staff and the bureaucrats and say, we need collaboration, we need support. Oh, we don't have the form for that. So we're facing this problem where our residents, we are ready for innovation, but the city needs to step out of our way. Luckily, we have a city councillor who's very much on board, the wonderful Kristen Wong-Tam, and a motion is currently going forward in City Council to force the different departments who have refused to speak to us for so long to actually engage in dialogue and make the solution happen. So watch out. We may be calling on you soon to help us push the city to allow OASIS to happen. Just give us a little bit of space. These are some beautiful images of what it could look like, a food market, underground aquaponics and mushrooms, a beautiful park using regenerative farming principles as well, right here in the city lands. And our websites to learn more. And just to close off, sorry, I have one final point. We have a table too, so you can come check us out in the networking room as well, alongside Conscious Minds Co-operative. And I just want to ask for my new friend Mila and her collaborators to just stand up for a second. These ladies brought Second Harvest food for us today. And what's really beautiful about this is we met last Friday at the Fridays for Future Teach-In, where we also had Second Harvest. And these wonderful humans saw this work happening, got inspired, and made it happen just 1 week later for us. And this is exactly what this conference and this day is about seeing the solutions. Thank you. About seeing the solutions that are out there, getting excited, replicating them, connecting them, expanding them. So hopefully we can all do that out of today.